Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Hope you all are doing well. Today we're moving into the engine bay and I'm super excited because I want to be able to get this engine harness in. To just review what we're going to be doing today, we are going to be swapping out some components of the engine itself because if you guys don't know, this was originally an OBD2 engine. So it's got the one big connector on the distributor, the alternator is an OBD2 alternator, and the injectors also are OBD2. So what we're going to be doing today is swapping over the alternator to an OB1 alternator, swapping the distributor to an OB1 distributor, and it's got the two separate plugs rather than just the one big one, and also some OBD1 fuel injectors. This is the engine harness here. Can't wait to put this harness in. And then I have the Rywire grounding cable kit, and also I'm going to be running the alternator cables up to the master switch and the circuit breaker inside the car as well. Without further ado, let's get this going. Alright, I got all the OBD1 components installed, the alternators installed, all four injectors, and the distributor. Everything went pretty smooth, no hiccups there. Just remember, when you hook up your spark plug wires, firing order is 1, 3, 4, 2. That way you don't have a misfiring engine or an engine that won't start. If you look, this is actually cylinder number 1. 2, 3, and 4. It's not the other way around. Technically, the front of the engine isn't this side here. This is actually the left side of the engine because the front side of the engine is the side that has all of the pulleys on. So that's your front of the engine. That's why this is designated 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on. But now that we got all those parts installed, we can go ahead and hook up the engine harness. I'm really excited for this part here. Everything is labeled as it should be. Time to put it in. Alright, and just like that, the Rywire engine harness is installed. It looks really good, everything plugged right up. Injectors there. Alternator down there, knock sensor, O2, everything's hooked up. This thing is getting closer. It's getting much closer. Here's the harness coming through the firewall. And this is where it ends up, right up in here, up through that hole. So then I'll get it plugged in. These are the ECU plugs here. This is the chassis connector there. And that's what's gonna plug right here to the fuse box. Super pumped, getting closer and closer. Up next, gotta install the charge harness. So basically this cable is going to go from the alternator to the circuit breaker that I have in my panel there. And then from that circuit breaker, is going to go to the master switch via this cable right here. Technically, this is supposed to be for the starter, but since I built my own for the starter already, I can go ahead and just use that one to complete the circuit for the alternator. And that should be it for the engine harness portion of it. I think all that's left to wire physically is the fuel pump, the cooling fan, and then the lights. Yeah, I think that's it. And then after that, we can go ahead and start working on the dash, cutting it up, getting it fitted inside the car. All right, now that we got the engine harness installed, the ground cables, alternator cables, everything ran, It's time to move inside the cabin here and start to attack this thing right here. So this harness goes to the rear of the car, and you see there's a bunch of wires here that went to the old sunroof that used to be back here and a couple of other things. But there's the fuel pump wiring, and then of course all the exterior lighting for the rear. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trace to see what I need from these wires and what I don't need. And basically what I'm going to need is the exterior lights, the brake lights, and the fuel pump. That's all I'm going to need. So anything other than that, I'm going to be eliminating out of here. All right, inside the car back here, looking at the fuel pump and sending unit. Obviously I'm not running the OE dash anymore, so I'm basically not going to have a sending unit signal going to the dash, so I'm really never going to really know how much fuel is in the car. But you know, we'll address that later down the road. We'll just make sure we fill up after every session. But the fuel pump wire looks like it's a yellow wire with a green stripe. Of course the ground is black, so I just have to keep in mind that my power for the fuel pump needs to go to the yellow wire with the green stripe on that end. All right, we're at the back of the car now. It looks like the stop lights are going to be the green wire with the white stripe, and the tail lights are going to be the red wire with the black stripe. So those are two of the important ones that I need to take note of. So we've got the fuel pump figured out, we've got the tail lights figured out, we've got the stop lights figured out. Now the front, you just have to go to the front and figure out the headlights. I'm only going to have control of the low beam. So it looks like the low beam is going to be on the front right, the red yellow wire, and on the front left it's going to be the red white wire. So I just have to tap into those, bring those wires all the way from each corner there up and meet at the junction that I'm going to have right here, and all that will be then wired up to the connector coming out of the fuse box right down there. All right, it has come to that time where it is time to test it and see if it starts. Brandon's here to watch. Pardon the music, we got the homie working on the drywall. It's all right. All right, we're going to see if it starts. Here's the switch panel. Neutral, so we don't go flying. Master switch. On, ignition. Fuel pump turn on. All right, here we go. I like instinctively put my clutch clutch down. I'm so nervous, I don't know why. All right, here we go. I just did injectors too, so I had to get some fuel up there.
Give it a little bit of gas.
Works. First try. Holy crap. I'm super excited because of that. I'm just glad I don't have to chase any electrical gremlins. If you guys look, here's the switch panel. Here's all my wiring that I've been working on. Of course, it just has to get cleaned up now. I wanted to test everything before I buttoned everything up, because in case it didn't start and there was an actual issue, I would be able to, you know, start digging into it and try to find out what's going on.
It's nice when something works like that.
Yeah, I know. All right, now let's see if my kill switch works. So my kill switch, hopefully when I hit this, it should turn off. Hey, there we go.
There you go.
Woo! Heck yes. All right, I'm super excited, guys. I am so glad that this thing started. After removing all of the wiring in this car, Here is the pile of wires. There's 2 fuse boxes in here too. Just remove all that and have as minimal as the wiring as I have in here right now. This thing started on the first attempt, and that makes me super happy because I don't have to dig around and search for any electrical gremlins. So I'm super pumped. I'll quickly walk you guys through the switches here. So the red switch is ignition on. The second switch is the momentary switch. It's basically for the starter. The third one is for fuel. Fourth one is for the cooling fan. The fifth one here is actually an extra one. I didn't have any wiring for the brake or stoplight circuit, so I actually used this as the brake lights. So I actually have to have this switch on in order for my brake lights to work. I know it doesn't make any sense, but at the same time it does, because I didn't want to fully wire in a whole new circuit since I'm on a time crunch. And then this last one is lights. So if you look, I hit this switch, my headlights turn on. This switch again, they turn off. On, off. So right now, just to give a demonstration, I've got the kill switch down there. It is turned to its on position. That's it there. And then we'll go ahead and start it by just pressing down on this button. Of course, making sure it's in neutral first. And here we go. Just like that. And then to shut it off, I just turn the ignition off. And that's it. Again, guys, I'm just super pumped about this whole outcome. The fact that it started up on the first attempt. I know sometimes, you know, even though you are for sure you have everything where it needs to be, there's always that little bit of doubt that, like, what if it doesn't start? What if I miss something? What if I have to go digging trying to find out what's wrong? But in this case, you know, luckily I didn't have to. And I know some of you are probably like, what's the big deal? Like, it's a whole kit that Rywire put together. It's meant to just plug and play. You got maybe 3 or 4 wires to wire in. But the difference for me is just putting the parts together and expecting it all to work, or putting the parts together and actually having a full understanding of exactly what's going on. And I think that's why I feel not necessarily proud, but a sense of achievement. Not only did I just assemble everything and wire in a few wires, but I actually spent a few hours with an ohm meter tracing every single circuit, every single switch, every single relay, every single fuse to fully grasp and understand what's going on with the system. And if you purchased anything from Rywire like this before, the instructions that come with it aren't very detailed. So if you really don't have a background in electrical work, this might be a little bit difficult for you, because some things I didn't understand and I had to assume what was going on. And that's why I went in with an ohm meter to really verify what was going on. But I went to school for this stuff, this automotive stuff, and electrical courses were some of my favorite courses. I did really well in them, and I understand it. This was actually an enjoyable project for me. But to just go back to that feeling of accomplishing something like this, I challenge you guys to not just put stuff together, whether it's assembling an engine, a trans, doing wiring like this, doing brakes, whatever it is you're doing, not to just put it together like this piece works with that piece, but to actually understand why that piece works with this piece, why this install is done particularly this way and not the other way, but to get a full understanding, because it's gonna be so much better when you understand it. If something fails, you know exactly what's going on, you know how to diagnose it because you put it together, you understand how it works. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing nowadays, is that manufacturers make things so easy that you just plug and play and you put this thing on that thing, and people just expect these things to work. But again, I challenge you guys to just understand, educate yourself on the matter at hand, understand what you're doing, and that's going to go a long way. You're going to feel a lot more accomplished when you do things like this. It's going to boost your morale, and it's going to give you that motivation to keep grinding away. So with that in mind, that's pretty much the end of this video. If you guys like the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, man. I'm really excited about this part right now. If you want to stay up to date with the video and the build, go ahead and subscribe and share the video if you'd like. And last but not least, if you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and put them in the comment section down below. I do try my best to answer every single question. So until then, I will see you guys in the next video.